Hello, hello, hello. This is your girl, Annette Fletcher, returned Peace Corps volunteer in Namibia, sharing today another fabulous volunteer who served in Peace Corps. If you're not familiar with Peace Corps, let me tell you about the mission and the goals. The mission of Peace Corps is to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling three goals. One, to help promote people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained men and women. Two, to promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the peoples served. And three, which is why we're sharing today, to promote a better understanding of other peoples on the part of Americans. This platform or this share allows Peace Corps volunteers to share their authentic experience as a returned Peace Corps or as a Peace Corps volunteer. Today we have Miss Braxton, Miss Shanay Braxton, who is going to be sharing with us. Shanay, welcome.
Hello world. Hi. Assalamu alaikum. Smiti Shanay Braxton. أنا كنت متطوعة من المغرب في العام 2016 و 2018. Hi world, my name is Shanay Braxton. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco in 2016 to 2018. So you just heard me speak Moroccan Arabic.
Nice! I was like, hold on, I think so, girl.
Right? I swear. Thank you. I meant to tell you that at the beginning, but I was like, I'll wait and see how it works out.
Yes, you did that, girl. That was beautiful. So, okay, I don't have to ask you what language or did you learn the language? How long did it take you to learn it?
3 months. So
Wow.
I actually always tell this story because, you know, in Peace Corps, and it changes over the years, but our training was for 3 months. We lived with a Moroccan host family, and my host family didn't speak any English. So what I would do when we had our language classes, I would always write some of the important phrases in this little note card, a note card book, and I would take it home with me. So at lunch, at dinner, at cast crew, I would always have it just sitting right next to me. So all of my phrases, if I wanted to say dinner is good or lunch is good, or I want more, or can I have some tea, I had all of my key phrases right there on these note cards. And so that just helps me to continue to practice and reinforce what we were learning in class. And it would be so funny because my host family, the second I would like even just part my lips, they would sit on the edge of their seat like, she's about to talk. It would be so funny, but that helped me to learn the language and to be more comfortable making mistakes because of course we make mistakes learning a new language.
Right. That is awesome. All right. So in Morocco, did you have any projects or initiatives that you started or that you continued in the village or the community in which you served?
Yes, I was living in a city called Welmes, and in Welmes is known for the bottled water. There's a bottled water company called City Ali in Welmes. So I lived in a pretty large community in the Mid-Atlas Mountains. So we probably had a population of between 10,000 and 15,000 people. And there I did teaching English to high school students. And I first started teaching English to preschoolers, which was a whole experience. But it was fun, like, because they were like my first introductory into teaching English as a foreign language. And because they were so fun, they were already learning French and Arabic. So this was, because it was a private school, this was a perk for the parents to continue paying tuition now that they got an English teacher on board.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's mainly what I did in my community, because at the end of the day, we can come with ideas and different things that we want to implement into our communities, but the community says what they want you to do. And so because I was an English a native English speaker.
Yes.
They were like, she's an English teacher. So that's what I became. And at first I was very resistant. I was like, I'm not an English teacher. I do programming. I'm, supposed to be at the Dark Vibe doing these activities. And they're like, you're an English teacher. So I'm like, fine, I'm an English teacher. And it ended up being really fun.
Yeah. Did the teaching at the early childhood, the preschool, help you in building your vocabulary for when you did transition to the high school?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because with the preschoolers, I feel like I was teaching them some pretty advanced stuff. I was teaching them days of the week. I was teaching them time. And these are 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. They were grasping onto the concepts very quickly. So just me teaching them those basic vocabulary words and then tying it back to Darija really helped me reinforce my language learning. And because they're kids, they're not looking at me like, oh my gosh, she's making all these mistakes. They are picking at each other's noses, not even paying me attention. There were so many times I had to call the other teacher to come and get the class under control, because they're like, she's here. She's like, I was like a sub. I'm sorry if for any teachers out there, but that's what I was.
Yes, that's the play period when they're like, oh, this teacher I know cannot do this, and this, which means I can do all of this. I totally understand this sentiment. But I know that I used to teach early childhood here in Delaware, and I ended up being the Japanese teacher, even though I didn't know what I was going to end up doing. That was what I started initially before they put me in the classroom. But in Japan, that's how I learned the language, teaching like children, teaching at the elementary school. And like the level of Japanese that I do know is basically because of my learners. As you start speaking in English and they're listening, they repeat what you say in their mother tongue or in their native language. And you're like, ah, that must be this. And it just sticks there because you reteach that same lesson like 5 times, or like however many classes or groupings that you have to teach or share with. And I was like, okay, so my level of Japanese is probably elementary school level, but you know.
That is the perfect start. That's the perfect start. That is.
It is. So what was your favorite part of service?
My favorite part of service was the opportunity to be creative, not just with the classes that I was teaching, but also in my personal life as well. So Peace Corps is one of those opportunities where your day is not packed every day. What you do every day is really dependent on how you prioritize what your interests are, and then also according to what your class is. So I switched from working with preschool students to high school students, which meant that my classes went from being in the daytime to after school, because I was teaching like a tutoring service for the students and not in their actual classroom. So I was not teaching every day full time during regular school hours. During the day, I was visiting my host families. I was having, lunch and cast crew with different families in my community. And so I had a lot of time. So that, I think that my favorite part about Peace Corps was the opportunity to have flexibility, because although we're there to volunteer and to help a community, we still also have to really pay attention to ourselves and pay attention to what we need to do to grow, because Peace Corps is only 2 years. So within that 2 years, you better make the most of it. Whatever your next step is, you better be preparing in that Peace Corps experience, because you won't be doing everything Peace Corps every single day.
And you're right. That time is serious. And we were saying, most of the volunteers who have recorded already, were saying that first year, you're really just allowing your community to get comfortable with you, and you to get acclimated to the country and the language and the authentic culture, and the one that you guys are kind of developing in order to proceed to whatever projects or initiatives that you have. And that second year is more about starting those projects, pushing those projects. And by the time you get to the point where that project is like coming to term, it's time to go. And I'm like, I just need a little bit more time. Hold it. Don't forget, like, here, let me write all of this stuff down. But you're right, that time, 2 years when you go in, you be like, oh my gosh, can I do 2 years? Like, what is this gonna be? And before you know, it's over.
And so for me, it wasn't necessarily about, oh, I have to teach English. I was more so loving the fact that I could just pop up over people's houses. That was my Peace Corps. I was popping up over all my neighbors and my friends' houses, all the teachers who I had worked with. There were some girls that lived in my community that were also single women, which, is not common in some countries. So there were a lot of girls that were, I would say maybe 4 max single girls that lived in the community. So some of us got a chance to hang out. So really my favorite part was just being able to be a part of the community and be accepted as one of, not as one of them, but as someone from the outside who loves Moroccan culture and loves the people, because they were very kind to me and they made me feel like family. I felt very safe with them.
And I think people take that for granted, but that's huge. That's huge. Emerging into your community where you are accepted, where you can pop up. Because my first year, I was trying to do pop-ups, like walk in my village to figure out what was where, who was doing what, you know, what was going on this side and the other side of the river. Girl, I had people shutting doors like, I can't speak English, so we're not going to talk. I'd be like, motto, which is like good morning in my language. And they say motto and keep going. And I was like, and they shut the door. Like, oh wait.
Oh, right. I don't know what else to say after that.
I started switching to English. Like, I'm learning, like, let's talk. They were like, oh wait, you can't speak Damodar or Quay yet? No, you can go ahead. And we'll be out. But me walking the village allowed me, 1, to get to know them, 2, for them to get more comfortable, 3, for me to learn the language, because now I'm listening for what she said, like what she said after I said moro. So I said moro, she said machisa. And I was like,
just wait, like, I would tell you, body language was how I got by. For the first, like, with my Moroccan family, I was always laughing and smiling because they were looking at me like, what is she about to say? And I'm like, hold up, I don't know yet. Let me read these notes.
Yes, it was serious. I thank God that we had English in my village. So Afrikaans was the national language, but it was transitioning to English. So at the time where I came to school, they were still teaching in Afrikaans, but they were making that transition to English. So it was like, oh, okay. But for a number of people, like if you weren't in the school, you weren't speaking English. You were speaking Afrikaans or Kwekwe. So it was like, okay, nope, you still have to learn the language because you need to be able to speak to the community. And if you're walking around, and I was like, oh, y'all gonna talk to me. We're gonna get this.
Yes. You said it, because so many people would come to me. Like, one of my closest friends, she's the director of the library in my community.
Right.
The very first time I met her, she said, speak to me in English. I don't understand you. Just like that. And I'm like, and kept speaking to her in Indonesia, because you're not about to stop my show. Because the thing is, people, when they hear English speaker, they automatically want to speak English so that they can practice their English, which is understandable. And at the same time, I want to practice the language that I'm learning. So what I started to say was, I'm going to speak to you in Darija, you speak to me in English. And that's how we'll communicate, because so many people try to stop me, like trying to say my Arabic was bad or they don't understand me and I need to just speak to them in English. And that like hurts, because here you are trying to really push yourself, and it's not easy. And Moroccans will tell you too, like, oh my gosh, you speak Arabic, that's not easy. But it wasn't easy for me to practice speaking with Moroccans either, because I wouldn't say Moroccans, I would say Moroccans that weren't in my host family. Because of course my host family knew that I was practicing. But if I'm at the taxi stand or if I'm at the store, they don't know me. And they're like, who is this girl trying to speak to me in my language? And I would still be pushing it. Like, you are not about to stop me, because I have to learn this language.
So did how you look give you an advantage or disadvantage when you were out in the community? Like, because Moroccans range in terms of how they sort of kind of look. So in terms of when you were out, their expectation, like, was their expectation for you to be able to speak Arabic? And when you didn't, it was kind of like, oh, what? Why are you not, or why is your Moroccan like at this level?
Yeah, I would say that initially people would speak to me in French. And because that's the next foreign language, because they speak 2 languages in Morocco. They have Arabic and French is what they learn in school, right? And then they speak Darija, which is a dialect of Arabic.
Darija.
So, yeah, Darija is the dialect of Arabic. They learn standard Arabic in school and they learn French in school. So most people, when I would be begin speaking, they would speak in French, and then I would get upset, like, I don't speak French, and then they would try to switch to English, and then I would switch to English if there were phrases in Darija that I didn't know.
Okay.
So I would say that because my accent, it was clear that I was not Moroccan and that I didn't speak the language comfortably. So it was either switching between English and French as the next language to communicate in.
All right.
So I would say it really just, I just had to push myself to really speak the language, because over time I was really resistant to even learning French, because people would come to me in French and I'm like, I don't speak French. I speak English or Darija, a little bit of Darija. So you're gonna have to choose one. And then by the end of my service, now I speak French for a couple of reasons, but I began to embrace the idea of adding French as another language.
Right. Nice. That's cool that there were three languages that were actively being used, like in Morocco. So in terms of the entirety of your service, is there anything that you would change about your service?
I would say that the one thing I would probably change is probably having more to do in my community. That's the one thing. And I really persisted. I met with the principal. I met with a lot of different people to try to push things, because I was the first person in my community I think there was a couple, maybe 4 or 5 years prior to me coming to the community. So it was really, I was the first introduction to another American that was actually teaching English, because I think that they were doing something agriculture, because we have a really large farm in my community.
Right.
And I would say that would be one of the things that I would have wanted to do more, although I did participate in other activities and programs outside of my community. Because as you know, Peace Corps always has trainings, other volunteers have programming. So I was a part of the multimedia committee for Peace Corps headquarters. And as a result, the multimedia committee donated computers to volunteers who needed them. And so one of the volunteers who got the computers, she actually hosted a technology program, which I was able to participate in, probably like 20 hours from where I lived in Morocco. She was at the south of Morocco. So I got to spend a week in the desert. And so when I'm saying desert, I mean south, going towards Mauritania, not going towards, I think there's Algeria or Tunisia next to Morocco. So it was like 120 degrees a day there, dry. I had to put my computer in the refrigerator. It was overheating. I had to put my phone in. Like we all had to do it. And the volunteers that lived there, they were just used to it. We got bottles of water, the big liters frozen, because by the time you walk down the street to the program, they were ready to be drunk. So it was. So that was an experience, and I wish we could do something like that in my community. But the community where I did it, there were more volunteers already there. So as you said, like one volunteer helps to add to what another volunteer is coming in to do. And so the more awareness of a volunteer, the more susceptible the community is to offering these different programs. So that's the one thing I wish I could change, is that there was more activity in my community.
Okay, that is awesome. So how did you initially learn about Peace Corps? Did they come and visit your school? Did you know another volunteer in advance?
No, I had no idea Peace Corps ever existed until 2015 when I applied. Wow. And I was in grad school at the time, and I was like, I have to leave America. It was my first full year of grad school, and I had 1 more year to go. So I'm like, okay, now I need to plan where I'm going after grad school. So I was looking at jobs, and I was also looking for ways to leave the country. And Peace Corps kept popping up. And it was one of the longer experiences, because I didn't want to do a program that I had to come out of pocket for. I wasn't eligible for study abroad because I was already in grad school. So I couldn't do like a semester abroad that I would pay me. So Peace Corps had the longest amount of service. And I was like, if I really want to immerse in a culture, if I really want to be a part of something different and change myself, then I have to do something long term. So I came into Peace Corps knowing that this is going to probably be, it was the longest job, like contracted job that I had ever had, because this whole time I was in undergrad, I worked for a little bit, went to grad school, and then Peace Corps. So that 2-year, 27-month experience was my longest job. And I came in knowing like, I want to be here for this time, and I'm here for these reasons.
Right. That's awesome. And I think you may be one of the first volunteers that I know that completed their graduate degree and then went. There were a few older people that came to Namibia afterwards, but yeah. So did that tie into everything that you were doing or everything that you organized? Like, because we do come with some preconceived notions. They give us all this information about where we're going to serve, but we know that we were picked to go to these communities for these reasons or because of our experiences. Did they line up or did it change because when you got to your community, they were like, you are a native English speaker and you are going to improve our English? Did that definitely change, or there were still some other things that you could some little nuggets that you could still like leave?
I would say most of my nuggets were either through the interactions of the Moroccan families that I spent most of my time with, and also through English. So we did programming like on Valentine's, we wrote ourselves love letters, and then I had the students read them out loud. So just those types of things, helping to encourage personal development. Excuse my cat. To encourage them.
I'm so in it. Like I see him going from side. He's like, I want to be on camera. Just let him be on camera. We got it.
He can't make up his mind what he want to do. He's normally shaky, but not right now of all times. So, what was your question?
No, I do know that you said you ended up teaching, you came in with like, I'm gonna do programs and let's figure out what programs you want me to do. And they were like, oh my gosh, you're a native English speaker. You can improve our English. So we want to go in that direction. Were there other like little nuggets though that you were able to leave? I heard you say that you were able to leave some with your host family because you spent the most time with them. But and I asked this question because I feel like a lot of times we don't always understand the impact until either after we leave and communicate with people, or at the end of our service when people in our communities are like, oh my gosh, but this or that, or, you know, if you leave stuff in your community, or if you have like a going away party, people who actually show up that you never, like they never really spoke to you, but they were present. Like, were there little nuggets that you feel like you got from them or that you were able to leave with them? And you were like, I didn't even know that was a thing, but that's cool.
Absolutely. And I feel like I'm going to go back to Peace Corps is not just about what you can give, but it's about how you take in the experience. And what I realized is that my connections, just me saying hi to everybody on the street, me just talking to strangers in my community, maybe I didn't know them, but you know, they knew me. And so just being polite to people, saying hi, I would say that just me being able to be me was kind of like the best nugget that I could give, because if I'm able to show up, then that means that I'm allowing you to show up as yourself as well. And we're going to figure out how we're going to talk to each other. We're going to figure out, you know, like, are you inviting me to dinner? Are you inviting me to tea? Like, what we doing? And I think like, because I had so many different families within my community that I spent time with, I think that for me, it was like, I don't want it to be like, oh, this American is here and this American can do all these things. I'm like, I want to learn from you all. I want to just spend time with you all because they were fun. And, you know, during Ramadan, I spent all of my time with one family. I was preparing food and things like that. So I think I was selfish and got more out of it. But honestly, it's all about the connection.
It is.
Even if I didn't have the intention to meet this family, I met a family and I still talk to them to this day. I still talk to my landlord and his son to this day. So those are the nuggets for me, being able to still be in contact with everyone from my community.
Well, that's your second Peace Corps goal, basically, that you were knocking out before you even knew you were knocking it out. That's awesome. And it helps for number 3, because the stereotypes that they typically have about Americans or African Americans, like you were able to basically connect with them and to say, this is me. There are other people who look like me, and if your family's engaged while you were there, and it was like, oh, okay, so all Americans aren't this, or all Americans aren't that.
Which was cool because some of my Peace Corps friends came to visit me in my community. So they were able to see, because of course I'm a Black woman. They had never seen a Black woman before. The one family, how I became friends with them is because the mom saw my hair. So she came to me and was like, oh, she actually sent her son to ask me if I could braid hair. So that's how we became close. And this family is my family. And even though that interaction was just because I'm a Black woman and the mom was like, oh, I need my hair braided, I wasn't offended by it, but they're my family, like, to this day. So
all of those things make a difference. Like so in my community, I ended up living with another volunteer, a white male volunteer, John Crotty. And our interaction in our communities were very different. Even some of the initiatives that I started, they would go and ask John, so Master John, what? And he was like, that's not my program. That's not what I do. That's Annette's program. And they were like, what does she know? And he's like, yes, that's what he's here. Like, so he sort of kind of had to validate, but he was kind of like, we're here to do a job. If Annette says that this is happening, and you need to see Annette. Like, don't come see me about it.
Yeah.
And then it was, I don't know, that balance of trying to educate and share and to get that understanding or that level of respect. Like, I know just as much as he does, or he doesn't know this level of this, but I don't do this where he's at. So again, that first year, getting acclimated and letting them know I'm coming here to do some work and we need to figure out what work that's going to be was huge. So your engagement in your community, I don't even know if you know how huge that was, but that sounds like it was an amazing experience for not only yourself, but for the communities in which you impacted.
Yes, it was. And I feel that they impacted me in so many ways. And I'm very grateful for all of the families that I was able to spend time with and love and just be a part of their circle. So
and not for nothing, you know, that hair braiding was probably part of your nuggets as well, because that built a lifelong partnership, relationship that you will always have.
Yes, absolutely.
So would you encourage other individuals who are interested in Peace Corps? Like, would you encourage others to join Peace Corps?
Absolutely. And the thing is, right now in today's age, we have a lot of information. So you can come into Peace Corps and have a really solid foundation of what to expect. Now, it won't always pan out how it is, but you already know you're going to spend 27 months. You may or may not stay depending on the circumstances. And you know, because circumstances can be in and out of your control. So those are some things you want to consider, but you know that you're coming in long term, you know that you're coming in learning a new language, you know that you're coming in living with local families. So there is a lot of information now, and I would say I recommend that individuals go to Peace Corps. And I would say for my own community, that young Black men and young Black women should definitely consider Peace Corps as an opportunity, because it wakes you up in ways that you don't know.
Yes.
We need that. We need to be woken up. And I'm not talking about the term woke. I'm talking about tapping into ourselves and knowing who we are as individuals. So yes, I recommend Peace Corps.
Okay, and my last question before I let you go, is there anything that you brought to your service that you were like, really? You bought a Fendi bag, like, for what? Or you bought candles, like, for what? Or you brought, like, this DVD, VCR, like, you were going to be entertaining yourself, and you was like, what was I thinking, like, in bringing this? Was there anything that you brought that you were like, that was crazy? I could not believe I actually packed that in retrospect.
I don't know, because I was extra. I made a packing list and everything. I'm sorry. I had my packing list. I checked it off. I'm like, I only want to have this many bags. So I will say that one thing I did bring that I never used was my steamer for my hair. And I ended up giving that to my host family after these 2 years. I forgot I had it. I'm like, oh, I do have this. You know, I'm trying to deep condition, and I hadn't deep conditioned the whole 2 years. I'm like, oh my goodness. But one thing that I bought that I absolutely used and loved was a hammock. And that's not that random actually, but I had a balcony in my apartment. So I was able to put my hammock up. So when my host family helped me to find my apartment, I'm like, it has to have a balcony because I didn't bring this hammock for no reason. So I was able to sit out on my balcony with my hammock, but yes.
It was a handmade hammock?
It was a hammock that I had gotten when I was in Puerto Rico. I think it was the 6 months before I bought it in Puerto Rico. And so I was like, oh, I need to take this with me because maybe I could put it to use. And then I've got an apartment and I had a balcony, so I was able to use it.
Nice. All right. Well, I thank you so much, Ms. Braxton, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your Peace Corps experience with us. And I hope to see you on the other side. We have gotten actually a variety of topics from speaking to some other volunteers that we may pick some other volunteers to later share about learning the language, dating in Peace Corps.
And I'm actually married to a Senegalese man that I met while I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So I would love to do, if you have another show on that, yes, because so many people ask about the marriage process. So yes, I would love to do something like that.
Yes, it's been coming up. So I'm like, oh, you know, as people are speaking, I'm like trying to take notes like, oh, this is something that keeps coming up. This is something that keeps coming up. And these are things that have impacted our service or that were a part of our service and that are very relevant that I think will be helpful to share. So I will keep in touch. I hope that you do the same.
Thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you for inviting me to be on this platform. I'm so excited to share my story because there are so many people that need to know that this opportunity is out there and it's for them.
Yes. So if you're interested in learning more about Peace Corps, please go to peacecorps.gov. They have a plethora of information there. And if you see fabulous volunteers like Ms. Braxton, be sure to reach out. We totally love sharing, but make sure you have the time for it. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.